Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. So it's been quite a while since I made a video. Well, part of the reason is because I'm not really motivated, and sometimes, I got to be real here. Sometimes it's really hard to kind of stick around the whole YouTube scene when the game that you play and the game that you ultimately represent, even whether you agree or disagree with the practices that a certain game is doing in terms of, like, let's say microtransaction or whatnot, right? Well, in some way, shape, or form, you are basically representing that game. So whether you're talking positive about it, whether you're talking negative about it, you are a representative of the game. And it's really, really hard to consistently stick around and to make content on a game that continuously screws over its fan base with its microtransactions and tries to get you hyped up over shit that basically should be in every iteration of Call of Duty that they're kind of bringing back and that they took away or whatnot. It's absolute bullshit. They're playing. They're the puppet masters, man, and they're basically playing us, and we're the puppets, and we got strings attached to us, and they're basically controlling the strings as much as possible, and we let them year after year. So it's really hard to kind of stick around and basically represent the game itself. But anyway, let's talk about the subject. And all this, what I just talked about, brings me to Modern Warfare 4, and I'm no longer hyped about the game. Actually, I'm the least hyped that I've ever been. Now, I hope now, just like every other Call of Duty enthusiast out there and Call of Duty fan, right? I hope that the game ends up being good. Like, I hope the game ends up being good, and I hope the microtransaction system doesn't kill it and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I hope it does. I hope that I'm wrong in every single aspect that I talk about when it comes to this video. I hope the game ends up being good, and I hope I'm wrong, right? But the thing is, I personally think that going back to the Modern Warfare era, especially with some of the clues and tips and hints that we've been getting from certain athletes that have already gotten their hands on the game, allegedly or supposedly, going back to where the game plays like the original COD 4, I don't think that is a solid way to go, especially when you read between the lines and you see how Call of Duty has evolved. In terms of a gameplay perspective, I don't even want to go into the whole YouTube content creator perspective and in terms of the microtransaction system and all that kind of stuff, because really it would just make my blood pressure go up, and we all know the problems that this game has, the agreements and disagreements and certain content creators that have basically kind of sacrificed a piece of their integrity for the dollar, or have changed their content for the dollar or whatnot due to the things that come with extreme success in Call of Duty, or added success. But anyway, I don't want to get into that because it really starts getting political, and it's one of the things that I try to avoid. I mean, there's other channels out there that talk about this, like 8 Thoughts, for instance, is probably the best example. And thank goodness we've got people like him in the community, honestly. We need people like him, and some people may think that he's like a bad guy or whatnot. He's actually the good guy to a certain extent in disguise, because the thing is, he's going to call people out on their bullshit, and I can say that I respect that. And he puts a comedy twist to it, and he doesn't make it personal, or at least he tries not to make it personal, but hey, at least he calls people out. So that says something about the person themselves. So I tip my hat to a guy like that, and the more people we have like that in the community, the better. But me, I just want to be the person that basically is kind of like just doing their own thing. But every once in a while, it's really hard to speak out on it, especially when you're not making videos consistently as you should, because YouTube is what you like to do in the first place. But oh, and by the way, speaking of YouTube, the way the platform is going makes it really, really hard, not just for smaller creators, content creators out there, but also for bigger creators as well. There's a lot of people out there that are basically a shadow of themselves due to the, I don't know, whether it's the algorithm, whether it's the PG-ness of YouTube now that has basically taken a lot of people's it's taken a lot of the wind out of their sails for a lot of content creators, which is very tough. And it is what it is, man. I guess we just have to adapt, pretty much like Call of Duty. But the thing is, I mean, how much longer can you adapt before you absolutely like start tearing your hair out or whatever the hell it is, right? So with all that being said, though, going back to Modern Warfare 4, and if the next Call of Duty plays a lot like Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, then I think that's a big step back. Like I said, the games are a little bit more fast-paced now. The games, in terms of the flexibility and things of what you can do, are better. I mean, just look at World War II, right? One of the biggest complaints that people have with World War II was the create a class system, because they tried to make it a little bit more basic. And obviously, before Schofield and Condrey left, they went way too basic. It really did in a lot of ways play like the original COD 4 in terms of the pacing, in terms of the sprint out time and all that kind of stuff, and the limitations in terms of what you can do in comparison. And that's one of the things that a lot of people disagreed with. And if Modern Warfare 4 basically takes that approach and really just goes back to basics, that's a bad idea, because remember, don't forget, Call of Duty is not just about the solid gun-on-gun anymore. It's not just about the silky 60 frames per second. All that stuff should be, given. Every single Call of Duty should have it. Every single Call of Duty should have really good gun-on-gun. Every single Call of Duty should have a silky 60 frames per second, which is one of the things that Dying Food basically said, has said, especially with the Xbox version of Black Ops 4, how it's not a consistent 60 frames per second. And he's absolutely right about that. And he's absolutely right to complain about it, because that should be standard. And pretty much most, if not all, first-person shooters nowadays are basically changing it to 60 frames per second. Halo used to be 30. Now it's been 60 since Halo 5, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to continue to be 60. So 60 is the standard now. And, and the fact that they're getting away with releasing an incomplete game, or using a game, or using the community to basically make Black Ops 4 into basically this test dummy to see what they want to do with future Call of Duty titles is pretty fucking disgusting. And the thing is, like I said, man, these guys are puppet masters. They're controlling the strings at this point, and we're the puppets. And we can say no, but because we're so hopelessly hoping for the next Call of Duty to be so good, we basically we let them control us. We let them influence us. Now, again, I'm not as hyped for Modern Warfare 4 anymore, because just like the rest of us, I see the strings, but I'm finally deciding to act up on it, and I'm just not going to really support any hype or anything negative about the game until, or should I say, I'm not going to talk, let me rephrase, I'm not going to say anything negative or positive about the game. I'm just going to say, my basic impressions in terms of whenever that reveal is going to be, but in terms of the fact that the game could be shit once release comes out is still a definite possibility, and it's been a reality over in the last few years. But the thing is that, remember, these trailers and these promotional things, reveals in terms of the new game, they're designed to get us hyped. They're designed to bullshit us. Remember, one thing that makes a businessman really, really good, like if you're a businessman, one of the things you have to be really good at is bullshitting people. Honestly, there are very few businessmen out there that are tremendously successful that don't bullshit people, or that bullshit people to the minimum extent. Okay? So let's not forget, these guys are masters of bullshit. Thunder said it best in one of his commentaries. They can sell a cup of water to a drowning man. I mean, it's what they do. And most of us keep falling for it time and time and time again, myself included. But at this point right now, I'm at a point right now where it's like, okay, Jack, time to put your brain into before your feelings. It's kind of like falling for a girl, right? You got to use your head before you decide to give your love to this woman, before you even give your love blindly. And believe me when I tell you, I made that mistake many years ago, and trust me when I tell you, it's not worth putting all your eggs in one basket towards one thing and just have blind faith in something. And I could tell you this much: if I had a time machine, and if I could go back in time and talk to my former self or see my former self, the first thing I would do is slap myself in the face, hands down. I'd slap myself in the face and say, wake the fuck up, and say, hey, so-and-so is going to happen. You're going to go through this. It's like, you're being really fucking stupid right now. So in a sense, if I had a time machine to go back in time and to talk myself in terms of Call of Duty, I would slap myself in the face again and say, hey, maybe you should be a little bit more diverse with your YouTube channel instead of just sticking to COD, and just kind of find that spot in that gray area in the middle to where you could appease your audience with Call of Duty and yet try to add something else and all that kind of stuff. And in the future, I'm kind of leaning towards that direction. I don't know if I don't know. It's still kind of unpredictable. It's a mixed bag at this point. But yeah, in this one, I wanted to talk about why I'm not hyped for Modern Warfare 4 and all the reasons and all the stuff in between, and just kind of get a few things off my chest. Because quite frankly, it's really hard to watch other videos of other people talking about this stuff, or really hard watching other content creators out there that you used to absolutely love, and now you don't love as much anymore because they've basically changed their content for basically because of other things that have come into play, and they're just becoming carbon copies of other content creators that basically bullshit the community. So when you put all that together, it's like, how can you not at least say something or just let it out? So basically, I'm not trying to point my fingers at anybody or whatnot, even though I kind of did without necessarily saying who they are, to name a few people. But I just had to get this shit off my chest, man. So let me know down in the comment section what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like the commentary? Did you hate it? So anyway, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. Let me know what you think, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, let me know, and if you didn't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better. I'll catch you guys on the next one.